Welcome to the Sisterhood of Limitless Living. I'm Dr. April Moreno, autoimmune wellness researcher and professional helping women around the world to live their best possible lives despite the autoimmune condition. Listen in as we speak on various topics about the autoimmune journey and interview amazing and inspiring women who are living and thriving despite their autoimmune condition. Let's get started. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Limitless Living. I'm Dr. April Moreno, and today I'm here with Jenna Green. She's going to be sharing her autoimmune story with us. Jenna is a social media marketing manager and affiliate marketing expert. She's also an advocate for others living with chronic illness and multiple sclerosis. She can be reached at her blog, fullofgritandgrace.com. You can also find her at facebook.com/fullofgritandgrace. And on Instagram at the Jenna Green. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for being here. I'm really happy to have you here. Really excited to hear your story. Please introduce yourself to the podcast, to the sisterhood community.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So is my dog, Dixie. She's sort of off camera getting a belly rub. But I'm really excited to be here and chat with you guys. I love the positive influence that the podcast has. And I really do feel like it's important to share our stories when we're going through chronic illness and hard times, because it's really important for us to know that we're not alone. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone's symptoms may be different. Everyone's disease and life situation is different. April and I live across the country from each other, but we can connect over, shared experiences and shared lifestyles, choices, shared health issues. Like, it's really good to know, I think, that you're not alone, that no matter what, like, life is really hard, but you can find joy in that type of community. So I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much. Dixie's so fierce.
Awesome.
Yeah, but like you said, so my blog is full of grit and grace because I've been Stop, Dixie, you're fine. I've been a small business owner for over 7 years. I've been in social media marketing since before social media was really a thing. And my goal is really to help other small business owners and entrepreneurs and people with chronic illness in general to live better lives, to understand that, you have a lot of grit. It takes grit to be a small business owner. It takes grit to have a podcast, to live life with chronic illness, and you deserve to give yourself the grace that we so freely give to others and always forget to give to ourselves. So it's as much a reminder for me as it is for other people, but I think that it's a really critical part of my journey, at least with my health, has been changing my mindset and readjusting my expectations of myself and how I talk to myself as well.
Mm-hmm. That's such an important topic, the topic of having grace with ourselves and being mindful of the way that we're talking to ourselves, the way we're talking to our bodies, even the way we're talking to our autoimmune conditions is so important to consider. So I really love what you're talking about here, and I really love your website. I just felt really inspired by the fact that you've been able to do all these really amazing things despite the autoimmune condition. You're running successful business. You're out there communicating to the world through social media, and you're sharing your story of hope, being full of grit and grace. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot.
Yes, we need you. Would you kindly tell us your story about how you came to this point of your website full of grit and grace, but the struggle personally when it comes to the autoimmune condition, the multiple sclerosis, and the other chronic conditions that you face. Share that story of the struggle with us.
Sure. So yeah, I was lucky. I was very healthy for most of my life. I was in a car accident about 7 years ago now, I guess, that started my chronic back pain. And so I have some degenerative disc disease, and I had some herniated discs and things that really started my journey, I guess, with chronic illness, so to speak. Well, it wasn't an illness, but chronic pain, and like having to advocate for myself, having to understand more things about the medical system. And I guess it was like kind of a good preparation, so to speak. Because a few years later, it's 3.5 years now, I had my gallbladder out, and then a couple of weeks after that, I I had optic neuritis, which is where my left eye was like all twitchy, and because of my MS, that was my first MS symptom that I knew of. And I was actually lucky to be diagnosed very quickly. We have great doctors here in Boston. I go to the Beth Israel, and they were awesome. I was diagnosed very quickly, and immediately went to like one of the most effective disease modifying therapies on the market, because I'm just one of those people that I don't give up. I do have grit. I do. That's kind of, I didn't even realize it was grit at the time, but I have a lot of grit in my life. You know, things aren't easy. I live a great life. But I think what's always set me apart as a person, like whether even I was playing softball as a kid and I wasn't ever athletic, I had a lot of grit though, you know, and when something was wrong and, you know, the doctors at the emergency room were like, oh, you just had surgery, you're fine, like you're just busy, go home. I knew something was really wrong. So like I followed up with a neurologist, and like I had a lot of grit. Like I had to speak for myself. And I had no idea really what multiple sclerosis was at first. Like I heard of it, but I didn't have a full understanding. And a few weeks after that, they actually told me they had found an aneurysm in my left anterior carotid artery when they were doing some of the, like a CT scan, like prior to finding my MS. And they were like, oh, okay, so you have MS. And then they sent me to this vascular guy, and he was like, okay, we're going to replace your carotid artery with, you know, a vein from your leg. And I was like, no, I actually have a nutritionist appointment across the street and I have to leave. I literally walked out of the poor guy's office.
Wow.
Because I was just like, no, this is too much to handle. I can't say that I handled it well at all at first at all. No, it was terrible. I was a terrible patient. I was like, no, not doing this. But I got a new therapist who specialized in chronic illness, and I saw a whole lot of other specialists about the carotid artery, and eventually let them take that thing out too. You know, if a vein from my leg that they don't even need can become my carotid artery, I feel like I can still do a lot of things with this body.
That's right.
You know, I mean, like, who even knew that was possible? This little vein that wasn't doing anything in my leg is now my carotid artery, keeping me alive. Like, amazing. Our bodies are pretty amazing, despite our challenges. Like, our bodies are amazing, right?
Right. I love that perspective. It's so true. I
mean, it's been a hard 3.5 years. It really has. I had back surgery for my herniated discs. I developed dystonia, which is a spasm movement disorder in my feet and a little bit in my shoulder as well, from my MS. It's a spasms from MS is pretty common. The dystonia that I have is less so common. It's more common in people with other movement disorders like Parkinson's and things. But thankfully in Boston at BI, they have the big neurology floor there. So, you know, it feels like in hindsight, it's been one thing after another. And sometimes I don't have time to even process it all. But the way I look at it is like, sometimes the days are dark. Sometimes the days are dark and really hard and painful. The dystonia is very painful. And, you know, I've struggled with depression my entire life. Now I have anxiety as well since my MS diagnosis. And like I said, I still go to therapy, and you know, I do all of the things that I know I'm supposed to do for my health and prioritizing healthy eating. I go to acupuncture, I go to massage therapy, I've done tons of physical therapy. I've got my Theracane here and my yoga mat on the floor. So I've done what I can do that's within my control, you know. I think that helps me a lot, at least mindset wise, knowing that I'm doing the best I can for the things that I can control.
Definitely.
The things that I can't control, I try not to waste my energy on them, because I have a limited amount of energy. I mean, we all do for one reason or another, right? But my energy is limited because I have chronic fatigue, and I can't function if I do too much, you know, or if I get too hot or whatever it is. But we all have limitations. We
Mm-hmm.
just have to remember that we are still extremely valuable as human beings, and we have a lot to offer, even if those offerings and those values have changed.
Right. And I really appreciate that you shared these examples of acupuncture, exercise, and other treatments that you've been doing to help your condition. And so I have a question for you. It's about that transition. So can you tell us a little bit more about that experience of where you went from like not handling it well into the space of, yes, I can do something about this. I may not cure this, this may not be the end of this, but there's something I can do about this. Can you tell us about that experience?
Absolutely. I feel like I still have those days. Um, we still have those hard days, right? Like the days are hard, but the future is bright is kind of what I told myself at first. But
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there are so many things I can't control, and I can control my mindset to a degree. I have a lot of mantras like keep choosing joy is on the wall in front of me. I have like find joy on the wall in my office. Like I have mantras of mine everywhere because I'm very visual learner. I literally am looking at it. It's like keep choosing joy on the wall right there. It's perfect. I realized that for me, what I could do was control my mindset the best that I could. Anxiety and depression aside, with therapy and making some readjustments and changing how I talk to myself, changing what I prioritize in my life too has made a really big difference. Prioritizing myself and my own health, recognizing that I need to give myself grace, but really sharing my story. That's the decision that I made so early on in my diagnosis, that if I could help one other person feel like they weren't alone, then I don't think everything happens for a reason. I don't know. I don't think there's a reason I have MS. One of my good friends actually has MS and thinks that, and we disagree. We agree to disagree. We joke about it, but I don't think that there's a reason I have MS. But I do think that there's something that I can do with it to make my life limitless, as you would say. That's how I live limitlessly, is by sharing my story and being authentic and vulnerable. So hopefully someone else understands that they're not alone. And even if they're not going through what I'm going through, they don't have dystonia or MS or back problems. They have problems. They have things that they're facing, and that they still are an extremely valuable person. They're extremely valuable in so many ways, even if what you can do has changed.
The way we choose to manage it, it just shows our character, and it shows that we can persevere, and really that's what life is about.
Yeah, you got to have some grit to get through it all and enjoy it too at the same time, because if we get through this life and every day we're beating ourselves up because we didn't do enough, like think about that. Is that how you want to live your life? Like no thank you. No, it's not. I used to work all the time. I had so many clients. I'm a social media marketing manager by trade. I have this social media platform that I know how to use really well.
Mm-hmm.
And like I still do use it for marketing, and obviously everyone has to make a living, but I feel like I've figured out how to also use it for some good and to make some connections. And I've connected with people that have changed my life in such a positive way that I don't know how much it's benefited other people. I can't speak for them, but it's benefited me beyond belief. So,
Mm-hmm.
being able to share my story has really helped me more than anything else.
Right, that's beautiful. I guess it led me to two visual examples. I guess it's like the boat, right? What they say about the boat, it's safe in the dock or in the harbor, but that's not what it's for, kind of thing. So
Yes, I love that.
yeah, and so that's our lives here with the autoimmune journey. It's not that it was necessarily not supposed to happen. It's not that life is supposed to be super easy. That's not what life is for. It's about learning and getting through these things. So I really appreciate that you said that. And then the other thing that you said was about how you describe limitless living, and I appreciate that so much. For you, it's about this ability to be free and to be able to share your story and to help other people. I think that's beautiful. And I guess what they say out there is that people are listening either even when we don't know it, and we're helping people that we are not even aware of. And I really like to believe that that is really going on and that we're helping the world somehow.
I think so. I mean, you've created an amazing community, and with the podcast and everything, it's interesting because we don't remember to, like, I guess as business owners or group moderators or whatever you want to call it, podcasters, we don't get the feedback as immediately as if you were one-on-one in person with people. But like, I know just being part of the group for a little while now, like, it's inspired me a lot. And
Thank you.
and yet of course I didn't thank you yet, but hey, thank you. But it's kind of one of those things that you don't really know how much you've helped someone until, maybe ever, or until something comes up and they are inclined to message you, or you're nominated for an award. I was actually nominated for a We Go Health Award, which is like, I don't even have words for how overwhelmingly awesome and cool and honoring. I literally have no words for this.
I love it.
I mean, like, anyone that knows me knows that even though I have like some cognitive fog and dysfunction, especially as I'm more fatigued and switching medications, like, they know that I still always have words for something. Like, even if I say the wrong word or it takes me a minute, talking is my favorite activity. So if I'm speechless, like, that's really a thing.
That's beautiful. And that just goes to show that this is something that really speaks to your heart. It really speaks to your purpose. And so I really appreciate that. And yeah, congratulations again. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to share with our group? Women who are going through this autoimmune journey with us?
Absolutely. Like, my best tip is to be your authentic self, be vulnerable, because Brene Brown has a beautiful quote about how you find joy only if you're vulnerable. And, joy is the hardest emotion because to truly find joy, you have to be vulnerable and authentic and truly yourself. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned from my diagnosis and from meeting other people in the autoimmune and chronic illness community, is that, you have to really authentically be yourself. People are going to judge you either way. Like, people judge me consistently for looking good while being sick, right?
You can't help it. You look good, okay? Can't help it.
Right, exactly. Like, you look really good, girl. Like, thanks. Did you expect me to not be cute anymore? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. This is just how I look. What do you want me to say? Yes, my nails are done. I like that. But that doesn't make me any more or less sick. Spend less energy on the stress and the judgment and the hardships in life that we can't control, especially because if you have an autoimmune disorder or you're going through something hard, your energy is very limited, right? Spend your energy very mindfully as much as you can. I say prioritize ruthlessly in your business and in your life. That's kind of my favorite phrase.
I love it. Prioritize ruthlessly. Yes.
Yeah, prioritize ruthlessly, because you don't have the energy for the negativity, and focus on the joy. Find the joy. Like, I spent an hour with my niece and my grandfather today, and like, yes, I could have spent that hour working, and I should have, maybe, depending on how you look at it. But, I found so much joy in that. And while that depleted my physical energy for the day, it was so worth it to me, so that's how you have to weigh these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Weigh
That's
everything.
Pretty important to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wonderful seeing her smile and my grandfather's smile. He's 98 years old and like the coolest old dude ever. Focus on that. Find the joy in your life. It's not easy. Sometimes you have to really look for it. But the more authentic you are, the more vulnerable you are, the more joy you're going to find.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And the less limits you'll feel in your life too.
That's right. That is beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Jenna.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. I love what you do, and I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you for listening to the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. If you like what you heard, come and follow us and subscribe on iTunes or give us a review. Also, you can join us on the Facebook group, The Sisterhood of Limitless Living, or come visit me on my website, aprilmorenophd.com. Take care.